welcome into Go Throw's live press conference here at the 47th New Zealand National Championship. I'm Nate Perkins here with Tour Down Under founder and director Henry Pearson. Henry, how we doing today? Where are we at? Walk us through this this venue that we're here.
Well, Nate, a pleasure to join you again here on the Tour Down Under for the second year on the trot, and we're at a great venue for our finale of the 2025 season. We're here at Bottle Lake in Christchurch, the biggest city in New Zealand, South Island, and we're going to be testing all the skills this week between this beautiful course that we saw on coverage with Go Throw last year, as well as a new venue, Brooker Ave, which will require a little more distance and is a bit more open for our competitors. Two contrasting courses require two contrasting play styles. Everything to play for here at the National Championships this week.
Yeah, if you go back and watch Go Throw's coverage from last year, you can see Luke Humphreys, Levi Stout, and Paul Oman battle for the title here at Bottle Lake and see just what kind of course we're playing this week. It's pretty tight.
It was an epic battle that we had here last year, and the young guy, Levi Stout, the local legend, he came home super hot in those last closing stages here at Bottle Lake to clips the tournament by one shot from Luke Humphreys, as you said. Yeah, it's going to require, I think, a similar effort this week from someone like Levi to, push some of these players that we have here in the field. And what a depth of field we have. World number 3, Ezra Robinson, highest rated player to ever compete in New Zealand. Big Germ, Jeremy Koling, who had a fantastic win in Auckland at the New Zealand Open last week.
So sick. Well, honestly, I mean, one of Germ's more impressive wins with how it went down.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that wind and navigating a brand new bag under his new sponsor, MVP Discs, and against formidable competition, and Robert Burridge and Ezra Robinson, who were hot on his tail the whole way. Germ was pushed through his paces, and he delivered when he needed it most.
Yeah, he really did. So, Henry, this is 47th New Zealand national title here this week, and talk about how this tournament historically, it kind of moves around. It never really stays in the same spot. Where was it last year? Where was it the year before?
Sure. So, the 47th edition of the New Zealand National Championships. What a legacy that is for New Zealand and disc golf here in our beautiful country. And we really owe it to Bob Gentle, who is our New Zealand Disc Golf Hall of Famer. And he has been at every single one of those national championships. And they've just gotten bigger and bigger. 300 competitors this year join us in Christchurch, which is, to my knowledge, the largest tournament ever held in the Southern Hemisphere. Cool. So a whole lot of action to be had. Last year we were in Auckland, in the North Island, and like you said, alluded to before, the National Championships, as well as the other two New Zealand majors, the South Island and North Island Championships, they change venue each year, but the Nationals in particular fluctuates between New Zealand's two islands, the South Island and the North Island. This year we're in the South Island. Last year in Auckland, and then the year prior, the 45th New Zealand National Championships, where you, sir, eclipsed a fantastic win in the bottom of the South Island at Invercargill. That's a memory that I can imagine is still quite fresh for you, and one that I'm sure you'll look back on fondly. What do you remember about that wonderful win down in Invercargill?
Oh, I just remember what the tournament means to every competitor. I mean, we had competitors from, I believe, 10 different nations that year. Not a lot of Americans. It's a much different title this year. The thing is, when we get players like Ezra Robinson, Jeremy Koling, Luke Humphreys, the Goose, like it just increases how prestigious the title really is. And there's no question to me that this year's title is going to be the most prestigious in New Zealand disc golf history.
Yeah, you said it really well, Nate. This year is probably the biggest battle for the national title we've ever had in New Zealand. It has, in years past, been fought out by some visiting American pros. Our first guest on the show today, Jeremy Koling, he captured the New Zealand title here some 8 years ago.
Against Avery Jenkins.
That's right, and there's some good footage there somewhere in the depths of YouTube of Big Germ throwing off the top of a barn at Paradise to park that and eventually win in a playoff, I think. So, but like you said, it becomes increasingly important, I think, to show up on a week like this and perform well, particularly when you've got great guys like Ezra, Goose, Robert Burridge, Big Germ, and some local guns like Levi, Francis Orange, Jay Watkinson, hot on your heels.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough title, and so This press conference, we're going to talk to some of those players. Is that correct? We've got Big Germ first up on the docket here.
That's right. We're going to see pretty much every face that has joined us here in New Zealand for the last couple of weeks. Some familiar faces in Chandler Fry and Taylor Chosick, Sophia Donica, who've been here throughout the Tour Down Under season, Emily Weatherman, Robert Burridge, as well as a couple who have just joined us in the last sort of couple of weeks, either by virtue of being local legends here in Christchurch, or some players like Big Germ have only been on the tour 1 or 2 stops thus far. It's going to be a great press conference, that's for sure.
We can't forget about FPO. FPO is hot right now. I mean, Juliana just kind of swept the field last year, and now it's tough competition. You got to play, 960, 970 golf to get one of the FPO titles this tour.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's been the case this season thus far. We've had 3 unique winners at each of our Tour Down Under events on both MPO and FPO side, but particularly in FPO, we've had some real tight battles down the stretch. Sophia Donica winning in Taranaki by 1 or 2 shots. The week after, Emily Weatherman, it came down to the final hole there, where Sophia almost caught up to her at the beautiful Spa Park. And then last week, Holland Handley was pushed to the limits by Emily again at the Orchard. It's going to be a big week. And this week we have Ella Hansen, world number 9, joining us in Christchurch as well for the first time.
Amazing.
Nate, this is your 2nd year on the Tour Down Under and your 3rd year on the trot, enjoying summer here in New Zealand. And it seems to be the case that the scene here in New Zealand is growing year by year. What have you noticed this year that has sort of piqued your interest as opposed to some of your experiences in New Zealand in years past?
Well, I think there's just more attention on the disc golf tournaments, and the clubs really understand what they're trying to do here. And the Tour Down Under year 2 is it's so much smoother than it was last year. I mean, there were just so many less people to help create what's pretty difficult, moving assets all over the country and being the tournament director for all those different events. So this year, with all the separate clubs, handling their courses, it's just professionalism all the way around. And then this is just one of my favorite countries to be in. So it's really cool to experience it myself, but to see the other Americans coming here, and a lot of them have never kind of immersed themselves in a country like this before. So they're doing bungee jumps, canyon swings, jet boat riding. I saw someone wakeboarding, and they're just really receiving the medicine that New Zealand has to offer. So it's great to see the domino effects kind of working its way in year 2.
A whole lot of things to love and enjoy here in New Zealand, both on course and off course. And like you said, we've had the pleasure of assembling what has been pretty much an army to help pull this off.
Yeah.
I think this season has potentially proven that disc golf is the real deal, and New Zealand is one of the best places in the world to come and experience it. So if this momentum that has been set by this year and last is anything to go by, the Tour Down is here to stay, and it's going to be a fantastic sort of year-on-year event to enjoy. So we look forward to welcoming more Americans, both on the professional and the fan and amateur side, to our country in years to come.
All right, well, let's get Big Germ in here. All right, thanks for having me, Henry, and let's welcome in Big Germ, Jeremy Koling.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nate. Awesome. Alrighty. Well, I'm joined by a man who really does need no introduction. What a week you had a couple of weeks ago in Auckland. Big Germ, so nice, first and foremost, to have you here in New Zealand for another week. We didn't expect you to be down here in Christchurch, but it's our pleasure to welcome you to the New Zealand National Championships. Big Germ, after 2 weeks now to just sink in what occurred back in Auckland at the New Zealand Open, where you eclipsed a win in a playoff against world number 3, Ezra Robinson. How do you feel after having achieved such a fantastic win the other week?
I think it's definitely sunk in. For me, it was just coming to New Zealand was just an awesome opportunity to get some actual experience under my belt before the season began, and come experience some great weather and great culture, and see a new part of the world in a more intimate way. When I came here 8 years ago, I was here for a week, and most of the time that I was here was dedicated to practicing and playing the tournament. So I really didn't get to see much. And being here for a month with my wife has allowed us to, really see the North Island and South Island. I mean, really the only thing that I think we missed out on was seeing Milford Sound, but we've pretty much checked all the other boxes that we wanted to see and do. And extending our trip to be able to play in this event has allowed us to come to the South Island and just really, I mean, honestly, the disc golf tournament was really fun. It was a great opportunity, but it is not even in the top 5 things that I feel like I've experienced out here. Although maybe that's not fair because that moment was pretty special. The playoff was really fun. Ezra hitting that putt on 18 was remarkable. The opportunity to showcase the discs and my knowledge of this new brand was, it's a priceless opportunity. But just the experience of everything else alone has been just life-changing. It's been an amazing month.
We've seen both you and your wife, Jules, take in the fullest of the experience that was had in the week off.
Yeah.
I think Jules completed 2 canyon swings, and you had one yourself as well.
Yeah.
So maybe those 3 moments rank in your top 5. So I can see why the win last week was
There's
maybe not
one
there.
that you don't know about yet, I don't
really?
think. Yeah, 2 days ago, we go rock hounding with Luke and Angie and Greg, and obviously Jules and I, and we go out to Birdling's Flat, and we get out to the very edge of the cliff where you can't really go anymore. The beach ends. And there's this little keyhole cave that you can crawl through, and you get to the other side of this little cliff that you can climb up. And Luke has already scaled the wall, and he's up there, and I'm jealous. So I want to get up there and see what the views are like. And as I go through the keyhole, I get out to the rocks, and I see another peninsula that I want to go out to. And as I move forward, I jump onto the very last rock before the ocean. And at the very same time that I land on that rock, a seal jumps onto the same rock, mouth open, barking at me, freaks me out. And it's the first time in my life that I was initially consumed with the fear that nature might take me away. Like I thought I was done for because I didn't know what was. Anyway, so I freaked out, jumped back a couple rocks, and the seal kept pursuing me. And I mean, I got out of there, but it was, unforgettable experience. And again, just one of those things that just adds to this list of like, oh yeah, there was a tournament a couple weeks ago too. There's just so many things that have distracted us from disc golf. Just seeing this country is been around the world, man. I've seen a lot of beautiful things. I know there's a lot of beautiful things I have not seen yet, but this place is at the top. The fjords of Norway, all of New Zealand, those are the number 1 and number 2 for me in no particular order. So it's one experience after the next down here.
That's a frightening encounter, but I'm glad to hear you made friend, not foe, in meeting that seal.
Yeah.
Big Jim, we turn to a great event this week here at the National Championships in Christchurch, across 2 wonderful venues behind us, Bottle Lake, and across the street here, Brooker Ave. And I think we mentioned just earlier when I was speaking to Nate that 8 years ago you came to New Zealand on your first trip here down under and captured a win at Paradise I think it was a playoff against Avery Jenkins.
Yes, it was.
There is deep in the archives of YouTube some great footage of you throwing a thumber atop a barn on the final hole at Paradise. What do you remember from that National Championships that you captured a few years ago?
I remember a couple of things. I remember first just being swept by the beauty of Paradise. Staying there in the local house and waking up to the rooster every morning, coming out the door and seeing just the insanely breathtaking views of the cliffs, and knowing that we were playing on part of the property that was filmed in Lord of the Rings where Boromir dies in the first movie. Oh, spoiler alert. And then I remember playing the tournament, which was incredibly fun, playing through the woods, some open shots, some beautiful sweeping valleys, those trees that the Maori would use to pluck the thorns and do their tattoos with, and all, just learning about the culture and all that. I remember on the second to last hole, airballing a birdie putt down a hill that would have sealed the win right there on the spot. Mm-hmm. And that bogey that I took allowed Avery and I to have an opportunity to go into a playoff. And we just repeated hole 18 3 times in total. One time for the final hole in this tournament, then that was our first playoff hole, and then it was our second playoff hole. So we kept playing this long par 4 and walking all the way back and then repeating it. But the first playoff hole was where I threw my drive underneath this barn, and it was an unplayable lie. And I was like, I couldn't really stand over the lie. And so I was trying to think, where was the first playable lie within this situation? And I looked up and I was like, well, I wonder if I could get on top of this barn. And so I asked the tournament director, And so they sent a guy up there to test it. So he climbs up there first. He's kind of jumping on the tin roof. And he's like, seems sturdy to me. And I was like, well, what do you say? And he said, if you want to throw from the top of the barn, go for it. And I remember Avery was pretty quiet from what I could see because he was fairly close to me. But he had this real annoyed look on his face, which I probably would have had if I was him too. But then I got on top of there and threw a thumber really, really high, really far. And I didn't get the birdie. I think I missed like a 20-meter putt. But he also parred it. So it allowed us to do another playoff hole. And that was when I took it down in the second playoff hole. But he definitely had reason to be upset. If I had just had to play from underneath the barn, I would have had to pitch out and throw like a 450-foot shot or something to get near an opportunity just to push it. So, you know, later on in the year, he sees Simon Feasey back in the States, and he runs into him in a hotel randomly. And Avery just says, I still blame you for what happened in New Zealand. And Simon had nothing to do with the tournament. He's just a Kiwi. So Avery was a little sour on that, which I understand. But yeah, at that time, it made me the current U.S. champion and New Zealand national champion. So I kind of had like the two farthest points in the world at the same time, which is pretty cool.
That's two big welterweight belts to have around your hips at one time. That's pretty cool. Hey, and look, a win is a win, regardless of how you get it. And a national championship's nothing to be laughed at. So
it's been a recurring story my entire time down here, the second time to New Zealand, and it's been really fun to rekindle that memory. And yeah, it's Avery and I are still in a fantasy football group back in the States, so we bring it up occasionally. And
the rivalry lives on.
It lives on, yeah.
Big Jim, we've got two great courses ahead of us here this week to contest great national championships. The Bottle Lake behind us, very tightly wooded course, and contrasting across the road at Brooker Ave, wide open, lots of OB, but will require plenty of distance as well off the tee. What's it going to take this week to capture a second New Zealand national championship?
More of the magic from the orchard. It's going to take a lot of good game planning, not necessarily pursuing shots that could produce out of bounds strokes unnecessarily. There's a lot of mandatories and out of bounds over at Brooker Ave. Over here, it's quite simply comes down to hit a line. There's a little bit of luck required in some of the approaches because there's some pinching areas in landing zones. And I won't say it's luck, but it's going to require some precise accuracy. And ultimately, every single tournament always comes down to it. Who can make the most C2 putts and be consistent inside the circle? I mean, that's just the formula anywhere you go. But this place really requires a ton of accuracy. And if you're off your line a little bit here, you're going to get kicked into some funky spots, and you're going to be scrambling for par and bogey. And you don't want to be doing that too much. I mean, if you can stay clean out here, you're going to pick up a lot of strokes.
Well, it's going to take every element of skill this week to capture another New Zealand National Championship. And we saw not only last week, but also throughout your career that you, sir, have every skill in the bag to make it happen.
Thank you.
Big Jim, we wish you all the very best for your bid here at the National Championships this week in Christchurch. And again, our pleasure to have you here in New Zealand on the Tour Down Under.
Thanks, Henry. It's always a pleasure, man. I can't wait to come back. This is the best off season you could ever have. Basically look at it like you're paying for training, which is something that you would justify back in the States. Why not do it here where the weather's beautiful, the culture's different, you've never seen anything like it. Make it a plan next year. Seriously, come down here.
We look forward to welcoming you back and many more friends
Thanks,
next year.
man.
Thanks again, Big
See
Jim. Cheers. That was Big Jim, Jeremy Koling here at the New Zealand National Championships. And we're about to welcome in a couple of new guests. But don't hesitate to share your questions here in the live chat for any or all of our people here this week. And I think we're ready to welcome two young competitors here on the Tour Down Under in Aaron Gossage and Eli Swanson. I'll scooch over to make room for these two gentlemen.
Cool.
Goose, Eli, such a pleasure to have you here in New Zealand, as we have done for the last 3.5, if not 4 weeks. And Goose, I'll start with you. You've had a wonderful season here in New Zealand to kick things off with your year, not only enjoying all of the action here on the course, but also off the course. As we start to sort of maybe wrap things up and reflect on the Tour Down Under season that has been, what are the things that you'll go home with and think about the most?
Oh, it's just been an amazing trip. So some of the really cool memories that I'm going to be taking home is just like all of the different activities we're able to do as a group. The bungee jumping, jet boating, going to Hobbiton, seeing some of the sights, as well as just having a fun time. It was amazing going down to the Stouts family, getting to do some water skiing. It's just the hospitality from everyone's been amazing so far. And there's so many things left to do. So definitely going to be coming back at some point to try to just do even more things. I guess there's just so much stuff, so many places to see, and yeah, it's just been an amazing experience.
It's a perpetually long bucket list to tick off here in New Zealand, one that's never ending and might require many seasons on end here in New Zealand to capture. Eli, we welcome you here on our press conference here for the first time, and it's again such a pleasure to have you here in New Zealand. We've seen you perform really well this season, and I know I spoke with you earlier in the season about your ambitions for the year ahead, a full year on the Disc Golf Pro Tour ahead for you, sir. What does this do for your confidence going into the season ahead, particularly putting yourself in a position to win back at Egmonster in our first event on the Tour Down Under?
Yeah, I mean, I think that felt great. Obviously, like I haven't been in contention for a win in a little bit. Last year was probably my first professional year without a win, so it was nice to get in the mix and feel that pressure and understand like that. If I keep playing consistent and knowing or trusting my own shots, I'm going to be in the mix if I'm playing well. So I really like those moments. I like those high pressure environments of the putting. That's where I thrive. And yeah, just really fun. And this tour is a useful place to test things out, test new mentalities, test new approaches to how I'm going to be attacking different courses and like my mental game around each round. And it's a really valuable experience to just kind of build into the tour, and I think that's something that everybody can take away from this is just like a time to iron things out before we get into the most competitive events of the whole year.
Absolutely, iron out the creases and see yourself right for the season. I think that's a wise move. We're delighted to be supported with this press conference by our friends at the Disc Golf World, and Jefferson and Swiss have offered some questions to each of you. Goose, I'll go back to you. Jefferson asks or comments on, he's noticed perhaps some inconsistent play here in New Zealand over the last couple of events, and wanted to sort of get your thoughts on it as to whether that was perhaps a physical or a mental kind of component or struggle, and what will you be doing maybe on reflecting on this season and maybe leading into this event here at the National Championships to feel like you're at the absolute peak of your game going into the DGPT season ahead?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely been some, I don't know, not my best play for sure. I've had some good rounds and a lot of bad rounds. I think the biggest thing is the putting has been just a little bit off. Coming back from the off season, it's just you're shaking off a lot of rust. You're working on some things, getting back into the swing of things, and that's kind of what this whole thing was about. So I'm hoping that I've got some things ironed out and we'll be able to play well this weekend here at the Nationals. But overall, this is just a useful tool to get ready for the Disc Golf Pro Tour season. So I'm happy to just get some reps in and hopefully, get back to my top tier game before the season starts.
Well, having spent some time relaxing off the course, I think the goose will be loose by the time you get back home to the US, so people need not fear, I sense. Eli, we turn to you very briefly. Someone on our live feed here just commented that we're joined by the goose and the swan, which I think
Yes.
is quite fitting to have you both here. Eli, you mentioned earlier with me in the season that the two of you struck up a nice friendship in the last year or so, and that sort of led to the two of you joining us here in New Zealand this year. Talk us through that friendship and what it's meant to share this experience in New Zealand together.
Yeah, it's been great. I haven't known a ton of people on tour for very long, but I met Goose in Europe last year. We had a couple of fun weeks sharing an Airbnb at Krokol and the European Open, and I think those experiences were just very valuable and kind of bonding. And I just hit up Goose in the fall, and I was like, hey, can I come down and like film for you, and like we travel together and like play this tour, because we had both talked in the summer about New Zealand being another adventure that would be super amazing to undertake. And so just getting to see that play out in reality and just living each day and and sharing in all these amazing experiences has been really cool for me. And I think we've just had a great group down here, and I think everybody's really just enjoyed our time soaking up all the various things that New Zealand has to offer. So,
well, as the season wraps up, the memories will certainly live on, and there's no telling whether the two of you will be back next year, but we certainly hope that you both will. My final question, Goose, I'll ask you a bit about the courses here for the National Championships this week. Two contrasting styles required to pull off a win here in Christchurch. We've got the very heavily wooded, traditional wood-lined fairways of Bottle Lake behind us, as well as the more open and OB-lined fairways of Brooker Ave across the road. What's it going to take this week to capture a national title?
Great question. I think that you just got to kind of be dialed on both. The open course has a lot of simpler holes, a lot of par fives that are easy to eagle, things like that. So if you're dialed, hitting your landing zones, throwing far, doing what you need to do on an open course, you can shoot very low on that course. Out here, I think that you can get by without, having to lace every single shot. There's a lot of holes where, it's nice and straight and you got to throw your shot. So if you're just hitting your first gaps on a lot of the wooded holes, you should be getting, birdie looks or easy pars. And then there's a bunch of open-ish holes or par fours and stuff like that where you can score pretty easily out here. So I think overall that's going to be my goal, is just try not to take any big numbers, try to hit those first gaps, and just play my game, and I think that the scores will come.
Well, if the Christchurch wind stays down this weekend, I think we will see some pretty hot scores out there, and invite all of our viewers to keep up with the action here on Go Throw. Gentlemen, great to have you here in New Zealand. All the very best to the both of you this weekend in vying for a national title, and what a pleasure it's been to have you both here in New Zealand, the Goose and the Swan. Thanks again.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Henry, thanks so much.
Thank you. Right, that was Aaron Gossage and Eli Swanson here on the Tour Down Under. They've had a great couple of weeks here in New Zealand, both being relatively competitive in each of our tournaments, which has been very exciting. I think we've got a couple more guests waiting in the wings, and another man who needs no introduction, looking super fly in your new jersey.
Yeah.
Isn't that pretty cool?
Yes, sir.
That's a fresh arrival. That just arrived this morning.
Just today.
Well, I'm joined by, to my right, Ezra Robinson, the third highest rated player in the world, and a man who's been runner-up in 3 events thus far. And over to his right is Braden Sides, a rising star who's really made a name for himself here in New Zealand this season with a couple of fantastic lead card appearances, and has been really close to putting in a big W at each of our 3 events thus far. Ezra, I'll start with you. Second at Egg Monster, second in Taupo at Spa Park, second last week in a playoff to Big Germ. You must be absolutely hungry for a win this week here in Christchurch. What's it going to take to pull off a W?
Yes, I am extremely hungry. I'm really excited to be 4 rounds. I think that'll give me some more time to just. I want to break away, honestly. I want to just try to break away as much as I can. I think the second rounds or the first rounds are always the I don't play as well. So if we can get off to a good start, and then I'll finish out strong on the 3rd and 4th. So I'm really excited for this week.
Well, that sounds like a very hungry Ezra Robinson. Not only looking to take the win, but also just demolish the field, so to speak. But I think this man to your right might have something to say about that in Braden Sides. Braden, you've had a great season so far, and this event is going to encapsulate, I think, what skills are required to play great disc golf on any tour event. We've got a very wooded venue behind us in Bottle Lake, and the more open fairways of Brooker Ave meeting us across the road. What's it going to take for you to capture the win here at the National Championships?
Yeah, I think if I can just play consistent, I'll give myself a lot of birdie opportunities. I think both of these courses suit my game pretty well. So I think avoiding the out of bounds and converting from circle 1 is probably going to be the 2 keys for me to have a good shot at taking it down, I think.
Braden, I think last time we had our press conference in Auckland, we commented on how many times during this trip you have said, this is the greatest thing I have done ever in my life, and that might have been a dozen times back then, and I sense you might have said it half a dozen or a dozen more times since we last saw you. What are the things that you're going to remember most about your time here in New Zealand when you return to the US in a week or so?
I think the thing I'll remember the most is probably just the people that I've met. Everybody's, like I've said many times, just incredibly kind. The culture here is just incredibly caring, and it kind of seems like you guys look out for each other, which is, I think, pretty neat. It's maybe not something we do as much back in the States, and I think that that's something that I'll try to kind of implement into my own lifestyle and yeah, take that away from me.
Ezra, likewise, lots of memories here in New Zealand over the last week or two, and or a couple of weeks more than that, actually, 3 or 4. What are the things that you're going to think of most when you return home and reminisce about the days you've had here in New Zealand?
Yeah, I mean, Braden kind of hit the nail on the head right there. The people, the culture is just amazing. I think I've done a lot to like get outside of my comfort zone. Just either just going and hiking tall mountains or just exploring all of that and just doing stuff that I've never gotten to do before. And those are the memories that stick with me the most. So, yeah.
The two of you have shared this experience together. Great friends, obviously, back home in the US, but I think a bond that's probably strengthened by virtue of the time that you spent here together in New Zealand. Ezra, what's that meant to you to share this experience with Braden?
Yeah, no, this is really cool. We've hung out for, I think I've known him for 2-3 years. And I think this is the first trip that I've traveled as long without a sibling or a family member. So Braden kind of filling in that spot for me. This trip has been really awesome, and we've stayed together every week, and just really, he's more like a brother now than a friend. So yeah.
A brother from another mother is what we might like to call that here. I don't know if that's a saying that you'd have back home, but yeah. And Braden, likewise for you. This is an experience you've shared here with Ezra, your great friend. What has it meant to you to be here in New Zealand alongside Ezra?
I mean, it's been awesome. I was hesitant to come on this trip to begin with, and then when I mentioned it to Ezra, he was like gung ho, like let's go, and it's been absolutely awesome. And aside from him being a great friend, he's also, one of the best in the world. And I think that surrounding myself with somebody who not only is as great a person, but like as great a player as he is, I think that it's only done positive things and positive influence in my life. So it's been great getting to not only experience all of this, but experience it with one of my best friends.
Yeah, very special time here in New Zealand, and it's special for us as well to have the both of you here and contributing to our season, and also the Tour Down Under kind of opportunity here in New Zealand. It's been a wonderful season, and we wish the both of you the very best as you return to the States and look to flex your muscles on the DGPT, and I'm sure you will, having been warmed up here in New Zealand and had some time to relax as well over the last couple of weeks. Gents, Braden, Ezra, all the best in vying for a national title this week, and no doubt we'll see you on our coverage with Go Throw.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was Ezra Robinson and Braden Sides, two fantastic young players here in New Zealand. And we're joined now by two Kiwi young players who are making a name for themselves as their own. I'm joined now by Levi Stout and Francis Orange. Gentlemen, welcome to Christchurch for the New Zealand National Championships, a venue that the both of you know so well behind us here at Bottle Lake. Levi, I'll start with you. Last year, we had the pleasure of seeing you capture a win here at Bottle Lake in a fantastic battle with Luke Humphries down the stretch, and in doing so, becoming the first Kiwi winner on the Tour Down Under. Talk us through, now that we're a year later, talk us through what it meant to you to capture that win here at Bottle.
That was my first win where I was really like, okay, I can do this, because most of my wins in the past have been against players lower rated than me. But this one was the first one where I had to beat, 3 or 4 players that were solidly higher rated than me by, 15 rating points, and experienced in their own right on the professional tour. And going down the stretch with Luke, obviously it was the most nerves I've ever had in my life, and I managed to pull through, and it just felt good to kind of get that feeling off my chest. I felt like I hadn't clutched up ever, but I managed to push through on that final stretch last year. And yeah, it was just a massive confidence booster, really. And yeah, hopefully I can carry that through to this year.
If I remember rightly, you finished eagle, birdie, birdie, birdie down the stretch to win by 1, which was a tremendous finish coming home. And I think you also had a fantastic caddy on the bag on that day as well, in Corey Ellis, who at that time was the highest rated competitor ever to grace New Zealand shores. What did it mean to you to have Corey on the bag, and how much did that do for you in terms of building confidence as you made that last hurrah down the stretch last year?
Having Corey on the bag was really just like reinforcing my knowledge, because a lot of shots I was like, okay, this is what I think I should do, and he was just like, yep. So the first 14 holes or so he didn't really do much, but then the biggest piece of advice came down to the par 4, hole 15. Basically, I was like, I keep hitting this tree right in the center of the fairway, and if I miss it either side, I know I'm going to make eagle. And he just showed me something with my run-up that I needed to change, and I changed it, and I eagled it. So it was good. I realized, obviously, there's levels to it in terms of knowledge, and yeah, it was surreal.
pivotal moment, and yeah, one that we were so delighted to see. I invite our viewers to go back and have a look at that coverage from the Bottle Lake Open last year. What a win it was. Francis, we saw you as well feature on final round coverage here at Bottle Lake last year, which was, I think, the first time we saw you on Go Throw coverage and on the Tour Down Under. This year, you've been a real staple here in New Zealand, in part by virtue of how much your game has developed over the last 12 months. What has it meant to you to have this experience here on the Tour Down Under, to compete alongside not only your great friend and competitor in Levi, but also these wonderful players that have joined us here from the United States and Canada?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot. I think the biggest thing for me that I'm taking away from it is learning to play under pressure and deal with the nerves, which I've dealt with, but it's just different when it's the professionals. It just is a different experience, and that's my biggest learning that I've got from this.
We've got a big week ahead here in Christchurch for the National Championships. Two contrasting venues, the Bottle Lake wooded fairways meet us here behind us, and then Brooker Ave, more open style of play with a sort of wide sweeping fairways across the road. Francis, what's it going to take this week to perform well and even capture a win here at the New Zealand Championships?
It's going to take some really good disc golf. I'm yet to play Brooker Ave, so I don't know what it's like, but I expect it'll be good if you've got a big arm and you can throw really far. I expect the winner will be making a lot of circle 2 putts at both courses. There's a few eagles out here that might take some big putts. But yeah, it's going to be a really good disc golfer who can play in the woods and in the open.
Yeah, Francis, before I hand over back to Levi to ask a similar question, I just want to ambitions for your disc golf career in the next couple of years. What are you thinking in terms of how you're going to continue to develop your game, and where might we see you playing tournaments either here in New Zealand or across the world?
I think I want to improve my rating and prove to myself that I can play professionally. Until I do that, I won't commit to too much overseas. I do want to get to Australia this year, 2025. But I'm only 987 rated. I believe I can get to 1020, but until I do that, I don't think it's worth taking the risk to go to America yet.
Well, the comments I've had from some of our visiting professionals here, Luke Humphreys, Chandler Fry, Ezra Robinson, just to name a few, has been that your game has everything required to be of the level that you spoke of. And so I think we look forward to seeing how your game continues to develop over the next couple of years. Levi, I'll turn to you and ask a similar question. Big event here in Christchurch over the weekend. What's it going to take for you to perform well here at the National Champs?
It's the big one. This is the big one. We've had 4 weeks leading up to this to prepare, but it's such a demanding combination of courses because you can't just be good in the woods, you can't just be good in the open. I still haven't played Brooker, but I've heard stories. I think being able to play in the wind will be a big factor because even if it's not forecast for too much wind, from what I've heard, Brooker's quite exposed. Being able to throw high over a lot of trees is probably useful at Brooker because I know that it's out in the red zone. You know, the trees aren't so tall as here, but also you just have to be able to throw a putter on a rope and put it exactly where you want it. But it's not like there's no length here at Bottle Lake. There's still plenty of holes in that 300 to 400 foot range where you have to be able to hit the gap with power. So it's not just a one-track mind on this tournament. It has to be everything. C1 putting, C2 putting, as Francis mentioned. You just got to be on.
You're going to have to be on, like you said, this weekend to capture a win here at the National Champs. Gentlemen, you two are the best of the bunch here from New Zealand, and we look forward to seeing you giving these Americans a run for their money at our New Zealand National Championships. All the very best for your bid this weekend to become a national champ, and we look forward to seeing the both of you for many years to come on Tour Down Under and on Go Throw coverage. Thanks again, and for joining us.
Thanks. We'll try and make you proud.
Thank you.
Cheers, fellas. That was Levi Stout and Francis Orange, two of New Zealand's rising stars and fantastic players in their own right. We're just about to get underway with OTB Tour Series skins here at Bottle Lake in a moment, so do look out for that coverage in a couple of weeks. But before we do, we're going to welcome on a few more guests, and I think the next man on the block, come and join us. It's going to be Chanimal Chandler Fry.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. I think Jay's supposed to join me, but
He's supposed to be here, but that's all right. We can just have the two of us, not to worry. Chandler, again, our pleasure to have you here in New
My
Zealand
pleasure to be here.
for the last 4 to 5 weeks. It's been so nice to have your presence and your kind nature here in New Zealand. And what a couple of weeks it's been. 3 tournaments with 1 to go,
Yep.
some exploration at each and every venue that we've had. What are you going to take home in terms of the memories that you've had here in New Zealand?
Hopefully a
last?
win this weekend. I've had a couple good tournaments. And then the third one was a bit of a off week for me. I still had a good time, fun course, fun community. But overall, I'm taking home just the experiences I've had with the wildlife here, the community. The Kiwis are just fantastic people. They care about each other. There's a lot of love here. I think the USA can get a lot of lessons from how to live from the Kiwis as of right now. It's pretty rough over there. Hey, there's Jay. Get in here, Jay.
Come and join us, Jay.
Yeah, but I'm mostly already making plans to come back. Yeah, next year.
Well, we so look.
I miss my flight and stay here forever. We'll see.
Well,
Yeah.
we did say in our last conference that we were going to adopt you permanently and that you
Yeah.
might become the first tour down
Can
under.
you be my dad?
Just,
My dad's pretty awesome, but I mean, I'll take 2.
I mean, your dad, Chris, is fantastic. I don't want to step in the way, of Chris in any way. But look, if push comes to shove, we'll certainly adopt you here. I'll
Thank
sign
you.
the papers if
I met
need
your
be.
dad yesterday. He
Yeah.
can adopt me.
Yeah. To our viewers who haven't met the gentleman to my right, he is a local legend. This is Jay Watkinson. He's the assistant tournament director this weekend here at the National Championships. He's also the designer, builder, founder of the Bottle Lake course that we see behind us, and we also saw on coverage last year at the Bottle Lake Open, and a great player in his own right, having captured the 44th New Zealand National Championships, which was held in Wellington, New Zealand's capital city in the North Island. Jay, what a week this is going to be. This is the culmination of so many months and years, frankly, of work to to effectively carve this course out of the blackberry forest behind us. How special is this for you to see all of these wonderful people coming to enjoy this venue you've put so much love into?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Like just seeing the course, if you could see the course from the starting product, you wouldn't believe where it was today. And of course, not without the help of so many people from the community, and so many different people have been willing to just volunteer hours and hours, hundreds of hours, to get this course where it is today. So it is something really, really special to see it with all the flags out and all nice and pretty. Just super looking forward to playing it this weekend, and yeah, seeing all the locals get to play their course that they've all put to work on, and yeah, love it.
A special weekend for you, but for many Cantabrians, really, like you said, and enjoying this beautiful place at this beautiful time of year. Like we said, 3 years ago, you captured the New Zealand National Championship, the last Kiwi to do so, with Nate Perkins and Corey Ellis capturing the national title in the years since. What did it mean to you to pull off that win in Wellington 3 years ago and to be crowned a national champ?
Well, I mean, quite fortunate really when you look at the guys showing up these days. It's going to be super, super hard for a local to really take that title. So really fortunate to get it when I did, obviously. I was also super fresh to the game when I first got it, so I don't think I understood fully what I achieved at the time. It didn't quite comprehend. But yeah, man, I'm super thankful for the journey to get there and the journey to get where I am today, even if it's just playing a bit more casually. I'm still super happy to just be on the course and have some fun out here.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you tear it up here this week. And the both of you are going to be joining us here on OTB Skins later today. We've got a fantastic doubles lineup. Chandler, I'll ask you a little bit about your thoughts on what's going to be at stake today on the course. You're playing alongside a great young gun in Taylor Chosick. Jay, you're playing alongside, I think it's Sophia Donica, 2 fantastic players we've seen out here on the Tour Down Under. What's it going to take today to capture some skins here at the beautiful Bottle Lake, a course we're going to be seeing twice this weekend at the National Champs?
It's going to be a battle out there. I got Taylor. She is an absolute bomber. She can putt. She's got a sidearm, so I feel very lucky that I got matched up with her. She adds a lot that I'm missing on the team. So I think our goal is just to keep it low, especially in those trees. If you do hit a tree, hopefully not skip or hit too hard into Narnia. Make some big putts, which we're both keen on doing today, and just take down Jay and Sophia. And I saw Jay play the other day, and this guy, and he knows the course, he knows the local routes. He's also extremely talented, so I'm looking forward to seeing him play a full round and seeing what he can do out here. But I'm looking to bring it.
Yeah, Jay, likewise. You know this course better than anybody, I think, having carved it out with your own two hands. And you'll know the lines that these players will need to take in skins today to win the big money. What would your advice be to your competitor in Chandler as he sets about winning some skins here at Bottle Lake?
Oh, every time you get in the woods, throw hard and fast. Hard and fast as you can. Nah, I think what he said before was really good. Keeping it low. I think if the ceilings are really low throughout the woods, just because of, the way the trees are. The higher you get the disc, the bigger and further your kicks can be. So I think keeping it low and controlled and not putting too much, power into your shots, but really dialing it back and keeping the control there, then you'll be fine through the woods. But obviously it's a day at Bottle Lake. If you're feeling it, every gap, you hit every gap. And if you're just that little bit off, obviously you can be left, right and everywhere. So just got to hope that you've dialed in your practice, you know what you're throwing and you're ready to go.
Well, Chandler, being the veteran that you are and now equipped with all the local knowledge that you need to succeed out here at Bottle Lake, I think you're going to be one to watch on OTP Skins today.
Oh, yeah.
To both of you, all the very best, not only with Skins this afternoon, but with the National Championships being had here in Christchurch over the course of the weekend. Chandler, to have you here in New Zealand this summer has been our pleasure. And like you alluded to before, we look forward to welcoming you back here in years to
I'll
come.
be back.
Absolutely, for sure. And Jay, congratulations on all the work that you have put in here to make this venue and event possible. And on, I think, behalf of not only the Cantabrians who get to enjoy this place week in, week out, but also the visitors who get to spend the weekend here. It is our privilege, I think, to be on these beautiful grounds to enjoy this place with you. So, gentlemen, all the best. And thanks again. Cheers. Thanks, guys. Alrighty, that was Jay Watkinson and Chandler Fry. Jay Watkinson being the assistant tournament director this weekend. Chandler Fry being a face known to many a GoThrow viewer. He has competed very well here on the Tour Down Under over the course of the season. Almost getting into a position to win at Egmonster, event number 1. And found himself on lead card despite battling some food poisoning at Taupo Classic at the beautiful Spa Park. We're just getting near our OTP Tour Series skins, and I just wanted to check in with our GoThrow team as to how we were looking for timing. We're looking good. All right, so we're going to roll on with a couple more guests, and I'll welcome anyone that's ready, effectively. Taylor, are you ready to go?
Ready?
Yeah, come on in.
You just left.
That's all right. Who else are we missing? All right. That one's for you.
Thanks, Henry.
No, my pleasure. I'm joined by Taylor Chosick, who has been a fantastic familiar face here in New Zealand over the last 4 weeks. And to her right, just slinking into the left of frame there, is another wonderful rising star in Canada's own Sophia Donica. Taylor, I'll start with you. 4 weeks we've had here in New Zealand, and we are beginning, sadly in some ways, to wrap things up for the 2025 Tour Down Under season. With 3 events and many a weeks of adventures here down under, what are the things that you're going to think of most when you return home to the US?
Oh, it's so hard to think of just a few things, but one is definitely all the people we've met, everyone that's hosted us and opened up their house to us and showed us the courses and taken us on adventures. We went wakeboarding last week, we went bungee jumping the week before, it's been nonstop adventures, so definitely going to be taking that back with me.
Yeah, exactly what Taylor said. The host families and everyone we've met has been wonderful. The countryside's beautiful. We've seen so much of the country, and it's all thanks to the tour. So, yeah, it's been great.
Oh, it's been our privilege to have you both here. And you've both competed quite well here on the Tour Down Under. As you look into gearing up for the season ahead when you return to the US for the Disc Golf Pro Tour, Sophia, you had a win earlier in the season, the first event at Egmonster, a second place finish the week after at Taupo Classic in Spa Park, and a third place finish last week in Auckland. What does that mean to you in terms of building up your confidence for what's going to be a big year ahead on tour back in the US?
Yeah, I mean, we were a small but mighty field, so it was never guaranteed to hit the podium. So I was pretty happy with all my performances. I'm hoping to clean up the start of my tournaments a bit going into this final one. It's nice that there's 4 rounds to kind of get in out there. So, yeah, I'm excited to close out a fun little preseason season.
We've seen you storm home at pretty much each of the Tour Down Under events thus far. So with an additional round on the back here at this event with 4 rounds as opposed to 3, we'll see you have 2 cracks at storming home strong. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Taylor, likewise, you've had some great performances here on the Tour Down Under this year. You put yourself in a position to win at a couple of those events. I particularly remember Spa Park, where you were, I think, the overnight leader heading into the final round. What does this mean for you in terms of building your confidence going into the season ahead?
Yeah, it's been great to get more tournament rounds under my belt, especially being on coverage and playing with some great tour level players. I haven't really had that opportunity too many times, so it's been great to just see how everyone takes their good throws and their bad throws and moves along and is just working towards their final score towards the end and not any one particular shot or one particular hole. So I think that's pretty cool. Yeah.
2 great venues are met with us here in Christchurch to contest the New Zealand National Championships. Bottle Lake behind us, very tightly wooded, and Brooker Ave across the road, more open and befitting of a long arm that I know the both of you have. Taylor, what's it going to take this week to capture a New Zealand National Championship?
I think every week it's just like who's the most consistent, especially with 4 rounds now and the wins that we've been having. If you can keep it in bounds and take your pars and move on and keep those bogey strokes down, I think that'll win it.
Sophia, you've been the Canadian National Championship champion for the past year or so, and I bet that's a special accolade, particularly as a patriotic Canadian that you are, to be the leading lady in Canada. To add to your illustrious career with a national championship here, what would that mean to you to capture a win here in Christchurch this week?
I mean, as a Canadian who was trying to defend my Canadian title against Americans, I can understand the side of the citizens rooting for their their New Zealand athletes, but it would be really cool to come and snag this one for sure. So I'll fight for it.
Well, a big battle we will have on our hands in that case. The 2 of you, it's been our privilege to have you both here in New Zealand the past couple of weeks, and we look forward, I hope, to welcoming you back here the same time next year for another great season here down under on the Tour Down Under. To Sophia, to Taylor, all the very best with your bid this week to become a New Zealand national champion, and we look forward to seeing you on our coverage with Go Throw.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. All right, that was Taylor Chosick and Sophia Donica, the reigning Canadian national champion. She is vying for another title here in New Zealand to become effectively a 2-time national champ, 1 in each hemisphere, which will be pretty special. Gabe, I'll just ask if we could just advise our Skins viewers over there that we're going to be maybe 15 minutes late, and we're going to, in that case, welcome on another guest or 2, if we've got anybody available in the wings. I can see Juliana Corver and Jim Oates over there, Gabe. Could we welcome them into our coverage? Don't hesitate to share some of your questions in the live chat here on YouTube to share with each of our viewers. Fantastic to see 350 plus people watching the live stream at the moment, thanks to our friends at Go Throw. A great weekend we've got ahead of us here in Christchurch. There we are, there's Juliana. Come and join me over here. And these 2 have experienced this course before, so it'll be wonderful to hear their thoughts on a great week ahead. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
I'm joined to my right by 5-time world champion Juliana Corver and a 3-time Tour Down Under champion.
That is correct.
Having eclipsed 3 wins in our inaugural 2024 season. And we welcome you back to a venue that you are familiar with more than anyone, I think, having performed so well here last year at the 2024 Bottle Lake Open. Jim, I'll get to you in just a moment, but I'll start with Juliana.
I'm kind of used to this.
Juliana, you started your Bottle Lake Open campaign last year with an absolute scorcher of a round. 10-18 rated 6 under in round 1 of that Bottle Lake Open. It was you're playing off the same tees as the MPO boys, and it was the 3rd best round of the day out of anybody in the field. At that time, we had some fantastic competitors in the field with our US MPO visitors. What did that mean to you in terms of putting on such a great performance earlier in the year, and what do you look forward to this week?
It was kind of reminiscent of my early days when we always played the same courses in the men, and that's how I determined whether or not I was happy with my score, is how I competed against the men. So it was really fun to be able to have that same kind of success, internal success that I used to feel more often on the course. This course is a little bit shorter, a little bit tighter, and it plays well to my game. Hopefully I can live up to that at least a little bit again this year.
Well, I'm sure you will, knowing how good of a form you have been in the last couple of events, and knowing how well you play at this venue. It'll be awesome to see you show your stuff here at Bottle Lake.
Thank you.
To Juliana's right, we're joined by a disc golf Hall of Famer and multi-time world champion in Jim Oates. Jim, it's such a pleasure to have you here in New Zealand for the second year on the trot. And we've seen you flex your muscles here in New Zealand for the last 2 years. It's been our pleasure to have you here. Jim, this is the second season, like I mentioned, that you've enjoyed the Tour Down Under. What have you noticed in terms of the differences between year one and year two? And what is the things that you'll go back to the US thinking of the most about your time here in New Zealand this summer?
Well, the courses are very enjoyable. They're very long, and they tend to make us old guys play the long courses. So that's been interesting, a lot of fun. Do love the clubs. I think the clubs got more involved this year independently to put less stress on you, I think. And I think they did a wonderful job this year of preparing the courses, preparing activities for the U.S. players who have come over. It's just been a joy, again, especially with hosts and everything else, making our expenses reasonable to make the trip over. I think these are all things that are highlights for us as U.S. competitors that get an opportunity to come over and spend our winter here in your summer. So it's just been a delight to be here again this year.
Yeah, not a whole lot of T-shirt tans going on in the US at the moment, and I know that the both of you have made the most of the summer sun here in New Zealand.
Had a great time and really had some fun things to do this year. Juliana's jumped off everything she could, but it's been a lot of fun. Been a lot of fun.
You alluded to it just there, Jim. Juliana has really made the most of all the thrills and spills here in New Zealand. We've had bungee jump, a canyon swing, river jet boating. Juliana, how do you do it? There's nothing stopping you, it would seem, to enjoy all of those thrills. Talk us through
Well,
what
it's
that
not
meant.
like it takes any skill to do any of those. You're just a very passive participant and enjoy it.
A little bit of guts and determination at the very least.
Maybe a little bit of that, yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. Juliana, I'll ask you the same. What are the things that you'll remember most as you return to the US at the end of this 2025 Tour Down Under season?
One thing that sets this tour apart is how we all work together, how everything is together. Last night we had a dinner with 30 people involved that are all touring and the hosts and everything. I feel like it used to be more like this back in the States, and then as it's gotten commercialized and larger, it's just not possible because it's just too big. But here it's small enough yet that it really has that cohesiveness that makes it just really endearing, and I think that's what I love the most about it.
I would say much the same, really. I think, however, in the next couple of years we might find it's just going to grow and grow, which could mean that some of those elements that you mentioned are going to wither. But that might come with some new opportunities and new experiences here in New Zealand. Two great venues. We spoke of Bottle Lake a bit earlier. We've also got a new course that we're featuring this week in Brooker Ave. Juliana, what's it going to take to become a national champion for the second time here in New Zealand?
It's going to take precision and accuracy here, and I guess it's the same general thing, but in a different form. So Brooker also, you need to keep it between the lines. There's a lot of out of bounds out there. I was really impressed at Brooker how much variety there is, even though the land maybe doesn't look like you could get a lot of different shots, but it really does ask for a lot. And so I was very impressed by the utilization of what you have. Distance is going to help considerably at Brooker. A little bit here, not quite as much because of the woods holes. But mostly it's just knowing what your discs are doing and being in control.
With 300 competitors here joining us at the National Championships this weekend, this is the largest event to my knowledge that's ever been held in the Southern Hemisphere. And not only are we crowning our MPO and FPO champions, we're also crowning an additional 19 other national champions here across Masters and Amateur and Junior divisions as well. Jim, you'll be vying for a Masters professional title here. What's it going to take for you this week to capture a win?
Well, last year I won the 60s national title, which was a lot of fun at Auckland. And this year, the way the schedule worked out, I'm going to be playing in the 50s, so I can be in the same pool as Juliana. So that'll be interesting to see how I can compete against the guys a little bit younger than I am, but still have some aches and pains. So hopefully I'll be able to hang in there. I'm really looking forward to it. For me, it's the wind. You know, the wind comes up here, and having the power to keep the disc low and in bounds is going to be a big factor on both courses.
Well, Christchurch is known for its easterly, norwesterly and southerly winds. So hopefully, if the Terrasum trio sort of stay at bay, it should be a nice weekend.
I have noticed that happens quite often on the same hole.
For the same shot as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. Well, to the two of you, it's been our pleasure, like I said, to have the both of you here in New Zealand for the second year running. And I know we spoke of in our last press conference that you might have some new beginnings and when you return to the US with some things. So if it is the last time that we have you here in New Zealand, I want to wish you all the very best for things ahead for the both of you. But if not, and we see you back here in New Zealand, we'll look forward to welcoming you back here again in years to come.
Thank you very, very much.
Thanks very much. Cheers. And with that, I think we're going to close things out here for our press conference here with Go Throw. Thanks so much to all of our viewers joining us here for the pre-tournament press conference of the New Zealand National Championships. A great venue that we have ahead of us, behind us at Bottle Lake, and Brooker Ave is where we will contest these national titles. We wish all our competitors all the very best, and we'll see you on Go Throw coverage in the coming couple of days.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thanks.
Nice one.